All right, we're recording.
Thank you, Julian. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Municipal Accountability Review Board. This is a special meeting today. It is September the 23rd, and the time right now is 10:02. I'm Kimberly Kennison. I am the designee for Secretary McCaw. With me today is Christine Shaw. She's the designee for Treasurer Wooden. We only have a couple small items on the agenda today. I appreciate that everybody quickly came together so that we could address the needs of the town of West Haven. The first item on the agenda today is the approval of the minutes. And if I can get a motion.
Sal Luciano, so moved.
Thank you,
And,
Sal.
I'm Hamilton, will second.
Thank you, Tom. And I do know we have some discussion. Julian, could you bring to the board members' attention one of the edits that you would like to make?
On page 4, so it's under the review and discussion of the monthly financial report, the second to last paragraph, which is a paragraph that begins the vacant accounts, or the vacant, talks about the vacant positions. The positions are accounts payable positions. So they were redefined from an accounts payable clerk to an accounts payable analyst. And then I just get, if possible, if we get maybe Frank or the mayor to just confirm I got that right in the correction here.
That sounds correct, Julian.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Kennison, can we
Yes.
just make, are we talking about the minutes from the West Haven Subcommittee meeting of July 20th?
No, this is full Barb. This is the September 9th regular meeting.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Sal. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Waxenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Luciano,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Felsigno,
Abstain.
Mr. Brockman,
Yes.
Ms. Shaw,
Yes.
Ms. Kennison.
Yes.
Are there any other members that joined the meeting that I did not mention? And that's everybody.
Thank you, Julian. So the minutes have been approved. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is the City of West Haven. We're here to discuss today the the end of this month on September 2021, where the city is looking to issue some bonds. The city is preparing to issue 20 million $545,000 in general obligation bonds. The MARB is required to review and comment on any of the proposed debt obligations for a Tier 3 municipality. And so today it's not required that we take a vote or any action, but it is important that we do bring a large debt issuance to the attention of the MARB and give us an opportunity to comment. The city has a bond advisor that has provided us a summary and a memo, and it provides us with the uses of the proceeds for the bond funds. It also is going to project out the debt of those bonds. That's included in your packet. OPM, we provided you with a summary of the bond issuance, and this is all consistent with the adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2022, as well as the 5-year plan. So the preliminary official statement and the credit rating analysis was provided from Standard & Poor's, and that is also included in your materials. We happen to have the bond advisor with us today. He is on the call, Bill Lindsay from Municipal. And I believe I will turn this over to him to bring us up to date, and or the city, whoever would like to take this first.
Frank, do you want to start, or would you like me to?
No, you can go ahead, Bill. And, the only thing I would say is I'd like to thank the MARB for holding this special meeting. This is my fault. I did not realize that the MARB had to weigh in on the debt service after the capital plan had been approved. So thank you so much for doing this. Bill?
All right, thank you, Frank. Good morning, everybody. So again, my name is Bill Lindsay. I'm with the firm Municipal Services out of Madison, Connecticut. We are the city's financial advisor for debt issuance. So you may recall the city currently has $19.5 million in short-term bond anticipation notes that mature at the end of this month. The plan is that the city will be bonding 13 million of that amount for the high school project. That will represent the second of 3 projected borrowing installments for the high school project. And then the balance, which is $6.5 million, will be rolled over and then bonded September of next year, 22. That's the third and hopefully final borrowing for the project. In addition to the 13 million of borrowing for the high school project, the city has roughly $7.5 million of borrowing for other capital projects, which were part of the largely the 21-22 capital plan. They represent about $3.2 million of other Board of Ed capital projects for various buildings and grounds improvements. And then about $4.4 million rounding up for city capital for things like public works, police, and IT. And in my memo from September 16th, I outlined the description of each of the projects being financed by department, as well as the useful life of those assets being financed. For the amortization for this bond series, we constructed it from kind of a bottom-up approach where we took each of the individual projects in their useful lives and amortized them individually, and then rolled it up to the ultimate final amortization. So that is consistent with what was in the 5-year plan. There is one project which was $800,000 of street paving, which was from the 2021 capital plan, which was not financed a year ago, is being financed in this issuance. But importantly to note that there are no, the bond issue does not affect the current fiscal year 21-22. The first payments are September of 22, which will be 22-23 fiscal. Again, as outlined in the city's 5-year fiscal plan. And we're happy to say that the positive outlook from Standard & Poor's, I think is going to serve the city well here as when we go to pricing. I think we're going to have some strong interest in the bonds, just given the amount of money that's been in the market, high demand, but low supply, especially in the BBB space here. And we're expecting considerably compressed credit spreads from a year ago. Happy to report. And I think, again, that positive outlook will serve the city well with the pricing. So that's what I had prepared. And I'd be willing to take any questions that the members may have.
One question, Bill. Do you know how much they're requesting to bond for the high school next year as the third phase?
Yes. So again, that's a great question. The original plan of finance had the city's net share of project costs at about 37 million. So that would have been a $11 million issuance for next year. We're happy to report that the project is coming in under budget. And Frank can speak to that better than I, but it is coming in under budget. The original plan of finance had included $2.3 million of capitalized costs, and I'm happy to report that we're less than half of that amount currently. And so there's some additional savings there. Interest rates have come in better in the past 3 years than we had originally projected. So there's some savings there. And then finally, the bond premium that was received by the city on the 20 issuance. So that was installment 1 for the high school. And then whatever bond premium is received in installment 2 will go towards the project as project revenues. So, it's going to depend on a number of factors here, what the final issuance is, next year. Obviously, we got 6.5 million in notes, so it would be a minimum of that. It could be, closer to 9 or 10, but it's going to depend on, again, project revenues, what the premium is on the new bond issue as well. And I guess the other thing that I would point out the state, I'm sure you're all very aware, does withhold retainage on their grant disbursements. And so, if the city needs to issue short-term bond anticipation notes to cover the retainage amount until the project audit is complete and the retainage is released, they have the ability to do that. They can't bond for it, obviously, but they can issue short-term notes to cover that until the project audit is complete, at which time the retainage would come in and be used to pay off those notes.
Thank you. The interest rate you had projected that was included with the step that I see was like,
For this issuance, yeah, the effective rate for the
4%?
bonds is, like 2.3% is what we're expecting, which is quite a bit lower than what we had projected for the 21 installment back in 2017.
Through you, Madam Chair, a question about the use of premium. Do you have any expectations based on market conditions, how much premium can be generated through this issue? And just wanted to confirm, will that premium be used to pay debt service, or could it reduce the cost of the amount issued?
The intent is to have it do two things: pay the issuance on the short-term notes, because again, if you recall the original plan of finance, we were capitalizing the short-term interest in there. So it'll pay roughly 387,000 short-term notes. The balance after paying for issuance costs will go to the project, not pay debt service on the bonds, but go directly to the project to reduce the final installment of borrowing.
If I might add, that's a very responsible way to use premium. So thanks for that.
Yeah, a couple of questions. First, congratulations on the positive outlook from S&P. That certainly is great news to hear. In terms of your financing plan, at this point, would be financing something like 70% of the high school project. I'm wondering, given current rates, and I don't know, obviously we've been thinking rates were going to increase for probably a decade, and they never have. But now it's I think there's more expectation that perhaps rates may start to increase. Has that played at all? Has your expectation of future interest rates played any part in terms of deciding how much of this project to bond and when?
It has. It's a great question. And obviously, there's been a lot more talk of inflation recently than we've had in a while. We did accelerate the borrowing in both, I believe in the first installment, certainly by a couple $1 million. The problem with bonding all of it now, that the balance of call it 6.5 that we will be having short-term notes, is that all along in the model we had a third installment of bonds, and the city does have a significant drop off in debt service in the upcoming fiscal year because the 2002 pension bonds will be retired this March of 22. So there is a significant drop down, but that drop down, if you recall, has been earmarked, if you will, to help restore fund balance. And we didn't want to eat into that too much by necessarily accelerating the bond payments. And then additionally, the 5-year plan has, as it was layered in, as the 3 installments of bonds were layered in, the upcoming capital was layered on top of that. So your point on interest rates is a good one, but ultimately it was decided that we didn't want to disrupt the flow of the 5-year plan as it had been laid out, and the use of the drop in debt service to go towards the bottom line fund balance. We wanted to try to keep that as close to what the original plan was as possible.
Yeah, and I understand that. Obviously with this larger project, you want to kind of feather in the debt service so that it doesn't hit you all at once, and you can accommodate it, especially with that drop off from the pension fund or pension bonds. I didn't get a chance to look at the OS, but I'm assuming these are 20-year mature. You've got 20-year serial bonds. Is that what these are, or is it something different?
No, it is a 20-year final maturity. There are a number of the structure of the principal again is really kind of going from high to low because we do have shorter useful life assets that are being financed, but in particular some IT projects and then vehicles that are not amortized for the full 20.
Gotcha.
And then additionally, there are term bonds in here in 36 and 41. And so 15 and 20 years, but they're term bonds for marketing purposes only. So there will be mandatory sinking fund redemption, meaning the city will repay them on a serial basis, but to the buyers, we're rolling up 5-year maturities into 2 blocks, one in 36 and one in 41, to make them more attractive to buyers. Again, given the nature of the city's credit and the city's credit rating, this is going to be targeted to institutional investors, not to retail investors, and they would prefer to have a larger block size. So in order to accommodate that, we've structured it with term bonds. And again, that's the same approach that was taken a year ago, and it worked quite well.
Okay. And you haven't looked at, or have you looked at going beyond 20 years on any larger projects?
Currently the statute, right, would allow us to go 30 years for all of these projects, but in order to kind of stick to prudent financial planning and trying to match up the useful life, we stuck to the 20 years here, again, because that was part of the original plan. And again, given the drop off in existing debt service in the upcoming fiscal year, we're able to fit this in and not have debt service increase. And so it felt like it was, rather than extend it beyond 20 years, we could fit it into the existing debt service envelope and still pay it off quicker.
Okay. And what is the authorized but unissued debt now after this issue?
So that's a good question. For everything, and I'm just trying to get to that page in the OS. There is a number of legacy projects that we need to deauthorize. So the headline number is 68 million, but that 68 million includes 25 million for the balance of the state reimbursement on the high school project. So that would knock it down to 43. And then out of that 43, there's roughly 36 million of legacy projects that really need to be deauthorized because they're, I think, either old, completed, abandoned at this point, that needs to be addressed. And so we've been discussing that with bond counsel and getting a ordinance together to deauthorize those. So really you're looking at about 7 million, I believe the number is, of other projects. Yeah.
Okay, so not very much then.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, since I hear nothing more, this is all that this meeting was meant for today, was to discuss this bond issuance. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Stephen. How about a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. I hear all. I don't hear any oppose. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate
all.
you for coming.
And so for those who are
Those
participating in the subcommittee meeting in 9 minutes, that there was a separate meeting invite for that and a separate login. So we'll leave this meeting and at 10:30 jump onto the other one, please. And if you just give me a email or a ring if you don't have that meeting invite for whatever reason.